Hey, welcome back to the Amplified Podcast. My name is Jac Carnett. As always, I will be your host today. So if you are tuning in for the very first time, I want to say welcome, and we're glad you found us. We are walking through the Bible just about 2 chapters at a time on this podcast. And so we are about midway through Genesis right now. We're in the first book. And this podcast is for anyone who maybe you've been in church for a long, long time and you've heard sermon after sermon after sermon, and you've read your Bible, but all the names and the details and the timelines and places, it all kind of gets jumbled together after a while. Well, this podcast is for you. Maybe you're also someone who gave your heart to Jesus for the very first time just in the last couple weeks. This podcast is for you to help us understand the Bible better. That's my goal. Is to help through preaching and teaching. I've been a pastor now for 4 years. Sounds like a long time to me because it's been 4 years for me, but there are guys that have been doing this for 60 years. So not that long at all. But I do have a good understanding of what the Bible's trying to say. We will never, as I would say, we'll never dredge the depths of the Bible because, you're never going to discover all of it. There's always more to be found, and that's one of the amazing things about Scripture. And so hopefully today's podcast is one of the best ones because I should be very well practiced for this one. We recorded this entire podcast a couple days ago, and then I sent it to my editor, Matt, and he said that none of the audio was there. And so we are having to redo the entire podcast. So it should be even better this time. And so once again, I'm going to shout out Alabaster Bibles down here. They're not a sponsor, but if you're tired of just seeing words and you want some pictures, there's nothing wrong with that. I recommend Alabaster Bibles. They're really, really good. They work great as gifts. One of the ladies at my church here, I think she just found out I like them, and so that's all she's been getting me as gifts for like the last 2 years, for birthdays, for Christmas, for Pastor Appreciation. She's just getting me more of these Alabaster books, and they're great. I have no complaints. And so today we're going to go through Genesis 26 and Genesis 27. So here's a good way to help you understand the Bible. Okay, the Bible is simply just following from Adam to Jesus, from the very first man, Adam, and we're going to follow his family line all the way down to Jesus. And I remember I probably said this before, but I remember sitting in one of my very first theology classes, and we were going through the Old Testament, and we were reading more of the Old Testament than I had ever done before. And I realized that about halfway through the semester, I was like, wait a second, so we're just following the Israelites around for the entire Old Testament? That's all we're doing? And that's pretty much it. You're just following the Israelites around. And so we are just about to meet the man who will be named Israel, who is the namesake of the Jewish people and the Israelites. Same thing. We are almost there. We're meeting his father now in this chapter. Well, we kind of met him before, but we're going to read a lot about him today. And so in the last couple of chapters, we talked about Noah, and we talked about Abraham, and we talked about his son, Isaac. Isaac and Ishmael were his 2 main sons, but we're going to focus on Isaac. Isaac was the promised son for Abraham, the one that the Lord told him about. And so that's the family line that we're following. We're always just following the family line of Abraham. And so that's what we're doing today. And I'll have some maps and some genealogies for us as well. And we'll go through some of the names. And we're going to find out what the Bible's trying to tell us today. So let's dive into it. Let's see what Genesis 26 and 27 has to say. So we are following Abraham and Isaac. And now we are at Abraham's son, Isaac. And we're going to see kind of how his life ends up in the next couple chapters. And so it says this: Now there was a famine in the land of Canaan, besides the previous famine that had occurred in the days of Abraham. So 2 different famines. So Isaac went to Gerar to Abimelech, king of the Philistines. Now, the Philistines later on are really going to just become like the big rivals to the Israelites. So think about, kind of like baseball. They just have rivals all the time. And the Philistines are one of the big rivals for them. And so you have modern day Israel. Here, this is kind of the Fertile Crescent right here, if I'm getting that right. And this would be a great place to come for famine, because out here in the deserts, this is really dependent upon rainfall. Maybe the river's starting to dry up a little bit. But here along the coast, I imagine that the water under the ground is going to be a lot more consistent because they're so close to the water. So this is where they go to Gaza and Gerar, and Gaza has always been a disputed place and probably always will be until Jesus comes back. And so Gaza's down here kind of in the southern portion of Israel, and the Philistines are hanging out right here. They pretty much live here. They pretty much live here for most of the Bible. And we have Gerar right here where Abimelech is. So the Lord appears to him and says, "Do not go down to Egypt. Stay in the land which stay in the land of which I will tell you. Live temporarily as a resident in this land, and I will be with you. I will bless you and favor you, for I will give all these lands to you and your descendants. I will establish and carry out the oath which I swore to your father Abraham." So one of the concepts that we're going to see throughout the entire Bible, I want to explain to us a little bit right now. Throughout the entire Bible, we're going to see time and time again this concept of for the sake of. That's going to happen over and over throughout the Bible. And the Bible's basically saying the same thing here. "And I will establish and carry out the oath which I swore to your father Abraham." And so Isaac is getting to reap the benefits of Abraham's faithfulness. And there's really two men that are huge examples of this throughout the Bible. And so that is Abraham, and if you can guess it, that is King David. King David's sons, as promised to him, all get to be the kings of Israel. Not all of them, but there will always be a son of David on the throne. And most of them do a really, really sucky job. But time and time again, God says, I'm going to hold back punishment. I'm going to hold back judgment against all of Israel. I will show mercy. I will show chesed, as we've talked about. I will go above and beyond for the sake of my servant David. Because King David was so faithful and so wonderful for the Lord, he's willing to show blessing and willing to show favor and mercy from generation to generation. So Abraham set that up as well, where the entire world gets to benefit from the faithfulness of Abraham, his willingness to leave his country, leave his family, leave his father's house, and go where the Lord was telling him to go. So God is making clear that even though they may be living with another people right now, God is still going to be faithful to his covenant. And that's what we're going to see throughout these chapters. "I will make your descendants multiply as the stars of the heavens, and I will give to your descendants all these lands. And by your descendants shall all the nations of the earth be blessed." Now, we have the benefit of the New Testament. We have the benefit of knowing who Jesus is. And so we can see that this is a reference, an early reference to Jesus in the Bible, because all the earth has been blessed because of Jesus, and he is in the line of Abraham, but they don't know that yet. "Because Abraham listened to and obeyed my voice and consistently kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." So for us today, if we want to be able to hear the Lord say to our descendants, for the sake of Jack, for the sake of Melanie, for the sake of David, for the sake of Josh, whatever your name is, we have to keep God's commandments. We have to listen to his voice, keep his statutes, keep his commandments. The Lord's instructions to us are not burdensome. They're not heavy. The world would like to tell us that they are, but it's simply not true. I mean, showing forgiveness and showing faithfulness and showing character and courage, those things only serve to lighten the load that we feel over the course of our lives. Now, it can be hard to kind of maintain that, but it gets easier and easier with time. And so, for the sake of, kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So it says in verse 6, so Isaac stayed in Gerar, like father, like son in this case. And the men of the place asked him about his wife, and he said, she is my sister. For he was afraid to say, my wife, thinking the men of the place might kill me on account of Rebekah, since she is very beautiful. Now, apparently Abraham and Isaac were married to just a couple of knockouts. Just absolutely gorgeous women. We have that in common, thankfully. But apparently they were just married to these absolutely stunning women, and they were constantly afraid that the men around them were going to kill them on behalf of their wives so that they could take them in marriage. Again, this is not an endorsement from God. This is simply history. This is what happens. And so, in Abraham's case, she was his half-sister, so it's kind of a half-lie. It was still deceptive. But in Isaac's case, it's a total lie. It's not true. And so, again, he tells him, she's my sister. He's afraid. And it says this, it happened when they had been there a long time that Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, looked out of a window and saw Isaac caressing Rebekah, his wife. So it could have just been, holding her hand or stroking her hair, something like that. Something that kind of says like, I doubt they're brother and sister. Then Abimelech called Isaac and said, see here, Rebekah is in fact your wife. And he's like, I remember your father did the same thing to me many years ago. How dare you say to me, she is my sister? And Isaac thought, because I thought I might be killed because of her desirability. Apparently she is just that gorgeous that men are just lining up to kill him for the sake of marrying her. And so Abimelech said, what? I can only imagine Abimelech's got to be like, what is up with this family? What is going on? Why do you guys keep coming in and doing this and risking my entire kingdom? Abimelech said, what is this that you have done to us? One of the men among our people might easily have been intimate with your wife and brought guilt on us before God. Now, this is interesting that he would say this because the Philistines are not then and not now God-fearing people, at least not fearing of Yahweh. They weren't Jewish, they weren't Christians. They didn't follow after the Lord wholeheartedly. But for some reason in this pagan king, we're seeing the fear of God just a little bit. He seems to have some concept of God's ability. It's probably because of this exact same situation that happened with his father, where the Lord comes to him in a dream and says, yeah, you're going to die. And it's for this exact same reason. And so the Lord shows mercy in this case, but it's funny, we see the fear of God a lot of times more in unbelievers and people that don't follow Yahweh more than we do God's actual people in the Bible. And so that's going to come up a lot as well. So then Abimelech commanded all his people, whoever touches this man Isaac or his wife Rebekah shall without exception be put to death. So in the last time this happened, I think it was either with Pharaoh or with Abimelech, all the women in the kingdom were barren until they made things right with Abraham because of this exact situation. And I think it was Abimelech that God threatened his life because of this situation last time. And so he's covered all of his bases, saying nobody's going to touch her and we are going to live in peace with them. Then Isaac planted seed in that land as a farmer and reaped the same year 100 times as much as he had planted, and the Lord blessed and favored him. And the man Isaac became great and gained more and more until he became very wealthy and extremely distinguished. He owned flocks and herds and a great household with vast number of servants, and the Philistines envied him. So this is kind of step one here. Step one in this case is envy on behalf of Philistines. What I want to say about this part is, as believers, as people who follow after the Lord, we do not have to live in squalor and in live poor our entire lives. We don't. God has called us to greater things. He has called us to be his children. And when your father owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, you don't have to worry about where your next meal comes from, as long as you are joining your value system to his. And so God is showing faithfulness to Isaac. Isaac is being faithful to the Lord, as far as we know in this case. So when we show faithfulness to God, God is good, so good. He shows faithfulness back to us in an even greater level, where we plant maybe one seed or we give one something, and God gives back 100 multiplied over, simply because he's just that good. There's a concept I learned in college where we kind of think that God is like us and God has to be really efficient. So, there's only so much money to go around, Guys, it's not a zero-sum game. God is not an efficient God. Efficiency implies that there's a limited amount of resources to go around, and so it has to be, distributed well. But when you own all the silver, all the gold, when the trees of the field sing for you, when all the land is yours, there's no efficiency involved. You give as much as you want to whoever you want, and God does that for his kids. And we're seeing that in Isaac, and we're going to see them go from envy to a different characteristic to finally a third characteristic. But it's starting with envy, where this isn't something necessarily that's positive, but we can start to do well enough living for the Lord that the people who are around us who do not serve the Lord will actually begin to envy us. That, why are they doing so well? What is it that's different about them? And so it says this: now all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, his father, the Philistines stopped up by filling them with dirt. And so they're kind of acting out on this envy. They're just kind of trying to get back at him, maybe trying to, claw their way out. It's kind of like lobsters in a bucket. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, go away from here, because you are far too powerful for us. So Isaac left that region and camped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. You can maybe say it's 2 stages. Let's say it's 2 stages today. So we have envy, and now we're going to see fear. So first they wanted what he had, and they were envious of him, and they're willing to kind of, jab at him and fill up all of his wells and maybe steal some of his flocks. But now they're at the point where they're actually afraid of Isaac, and they're asking him to leave the area because he's just that wealthy. It's kind of like Pharaoh, as we're going to read in Exodus, where Pharaoh actually starts to fear the Israelites, even though they're just slaves and they're, unskilled and they don't have weapons. There's just that many of them that Pharaoh, and seems like Abimelech here, kind of feels like at any point these Israelites could just rise up and just take over, and just it would just be a coup, and that's it. And so Abimelech's kind of showing his fear, and we're going to see it even more so as it goes on. So Isaac left the region and camped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. Now Isaac again dug and reopened the wells of water which his father, which had been dug in the days of Abraham his father, because the Israelites had filled them up with dirt after the death of Abraham, and he gave the wells the same names that his father had given them. When Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a well of flowing spring water, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled and got in fights with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, the water is ours. So Isaac named the well Esek, quarreling because they quarreled with him. And so they're kind of just naming things after what's happening in that place. That makes sense. Then his servants dug another well, and they quarreled again over that one as well. So Isaac named it Sitnah, meaning enmity, which just means strife, fighting in between. So that's 2 wells down. He moved away from there and dug another well, a third one, and they did not quarrel over that one. So he named it Rehoboth, broad places, saying, for now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be prosperous in the land. Then he went up from there to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him the same night and said, I am the God of Abraham, your father. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you and favor you. I will multiply your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham. For the sake of my servant Abraham. Again, that's going to show up constantly throughout the Bible. So Isaac built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord. He pitched his tent and there Isaac's servants dug a well. So let's talk about this for a second. That's the wrong one. So Isaac does three things when the Lord comes to him. Isaac builds an altar, pitches his tent, and he digs a well. So, if I was to preach on this, I would kind of talk about it like this. He's showing three different levels of faithfulness to the Lord. So, in the first case, he's building an altar, and that's kind of like an upward trajectory of building an altar meant, God, I want to consecrate. I want to set up this place for your name. I want this place to be for you. I want to celebrate you. I want to thank you for doing this for me, for giving us this place. It's facing upwards. Building an altar is something that happens here on earth, but as the smoke rises, it is directing our attention toward the Lord. The second thing that he does is he pitches his tent, which is kind of here on the level playing field here on earth, what can be done. And so he's setting up his house. He is getting his affairs in order. He's not living in two different places. He's not double-minded. He's setting up his family, and he's setting up kind of showing the Lord, this is where I am. This is where I'm going to live. I'm not going to be in two different places. I'm not going to keep my some of my eggs in one basket. No, it's all my eggs in this basket. I'm going to believe in your faithfulness, God. And the third thing that he does is he digs a well. And that kind of shows, that he's willing to put down roots, that there is something that is anchoring him to this land. So not only is he willing to thank the Lord in an upward trajectory, not only is he willing to put all of his eggs in one basket and lean on the faithfulness of God, but he's willing to plant roots and say, God, I will be here as long as you want me here. I will, if you want to move me tomorrow, great. But if you want me here for the next 30 years, I'm here. So when God calls you to a place, and for us, when you get to that place, whether you're a businessman or a lawyer or a doctor or a nurse or a teacher or an engineer or a pastor or missionary, when you get to the new place that God has called you to, take time to build an altar. Find a church, find a place in your house where you can say, God, I want to thank you for what you've given me. I want to build an altar to you. I would not be here without you. Then pitch your tent, establish yourself there. Don't be in two different places at once. If we're going to follow after God, let's follow after him wholeheartedly. And the third thing is dig a well. So if God's called you to a place, man, he can move you tomorrow, and that's okay to keep that in your mind. But man, plant roots. Do what you have to do to say, God, I'm counting on your faithfulness here in this place that you've called me to. I'm digging a well. And so wherever Isaac goes, he seems to do that very, very well. He builds an altar, pitches his tent, and digs a well. So then Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzah, his close friend and confidential advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his army. Ahuzah literally just means close friend or confidant, and Phicol just means strong. And so we could be getting that literally from his name. And perhaps the Philistines at this time had a very strong army, but they're still afraid of Isaac, which tells you exactly how wealthy he was. I mean, Abraham had a private army. Isaac seems to have a private army as well. Isaac said to them, why have you come to me since you hate me and you've sent me away? Like, what are you guys doing here? They said, we clearly see that the Lord has been with you. So we said, you know what? There should be an oath between us, right, guys? There should be an oath with a curse, for the one who breaks it, that is between you and me. And let us make a covenant, a binding agreement, a solemn promise with you. So, like I said, they are going from envy to fear. So first they were willing to push him, but now they are afraid he's going to push back. Envy to fear. And so why are they doing this? Because they said, First of all, they told him to leave because they were afraid at any moment he could rise up. But now Isaac has been blessed by the Lord to such a degree where they're like, man, we better set up some kind of like covenant with him so that he actually can't attack us. That's how well Isaac is doing. We're talking about an entire nation against one man and his family. And so now they're afraid of him. It's kind of like, yes, the Philistines were there before. Let's say they're Canada. Let's say Canada existed before the U.S. The U.S. comes in, the colonies. It's not a big deal. We're not too worried about it if we're Canada. But then Revolutionary War goes through, Civil War goes through. Things are getting better and better for the U.S. And at some point, Canada is going to go, you know what? Maybe we should be the 51st state. Maybe we should set up a covenant between us. That sounds like a good idea. And for a long time, if we have listeners in Canada, I love you. I'm so glad that you're here. But the American in me is coming out. So eventually the Philistines were like, you know what? Being the 51st state, that does sound pretty good. That sounds like a good time. So let's go establish a covenant with Isaac so he actually can't attack us because we're already afraid he is going to attack us. So it says, so that you will not harm us, just as we have not touched you and have not done anything but good to you and have sent you away in peace. You are now blessed and favored of the Lord. So I was teaching this to my youth kids last night that there's going to come a day where you are faithful to the Lord long enough that the faithfulness that God has shown to you in return has set you apart from the people around you to such a degree that it is undeniable. That there's going to come a day where your children are doing well, that your marriage is doing well, that your family is not falling apart, your job is doing well, and maybe the people that you were friends with in high school that did not choose to follow the Lord and their life, God forbid, but could be in shambles after 20 years, and they're going to turn and look at you and go, you know what? There actually is something different about you. There's something different that you've done in your life that has made you different. And so that's what they're saying here. Then Isaac held a formal banquet, a covenant feast for them, and they ate and drank. They got up early in the morning and swore oaths, pledging to do nothing but good to each other. Excuse me. And Isaac sent them on their way, and they left in peace. Now on the same day, Isaac's servants came and told him about the well that they had dug, saying, we found water. So he named the well Sheba, and there the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, the Bible kind of switches here. So you can kind of, in my Bible, I have a literal line drawn between these two verses, between 33 and 34. Up until now, we've been talking about Isaac, but for this last verse, it's kind of funny. We talk about Esau. He kind of just gets like a little blurb. And at the end, he's kind of like Robert from Everybody Loves Raymond. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, as his wives. And very funny, the last verse. And they were a source of grief to Esau's parents, Isaac and Rebekah. So this is another great reason to marry someone who's equally yoked. If you're a Christian, marry someone who is a Christian and someone who loves Jesus as much as you do. Because if you marry someone who is Buddhist, or you marry someone who is a Hittite, you marry someone who is an atheist, not only is it going to be a problem for you, but it's going to be a problem for your parents as well, apparently. So that last verse is kind of funny, and we're going to see actually the exact same thing again at the end of 27. Now, starting 27, it says this. Now, when Isaac was old, so we're jumping forward a little bit in history. When Isaac was old and his eyes were too dim to see, he called his elder and his favorite son Esau and said to him, my son. And Esau answered him, here I am. If I had like a bell, I would ring this bell every time the Bible says this. He says, here I am. Anytime God calls out to you, if you don't know what to say here I am. Now Isaac said, see here, I am old. I do not know when I may die. He's kind of getting his affairs in order. I could go at any time. So now, please take your hunting gear, your quiver, your arrows, your bow. Go out into the open country and hunt game for me. Make me a savory and delicious dish of meat, the kind I love, and bring it to me to eat, so that my soul may bless you as my firstborn before I die." So there is something important in the Bible about eating. Genesis sets up a lot of themes that we see throughout the Bible. Here I am for the sake of meals, that kind of stuff. Where just as communion is is an important meal, it is the important meal. Just like they ate together when Abimelech and Isaac established a covenant together. Now Isaac is wanting to bless his son. It's over a meal, and the importance of meals goes back thousands of years. It is the sharing of food, is the sharing of resources. Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot. That we're kind of like the only things on planet Earth that do that. So we share food together. And that's what Isaac wants to do with Esau. But Rebekah, his wife, overheard what Isaac said to Esau, his son. So remember, Rebekah and Isaac are together. They have Jacob and Esau, who are twins. Esau came first. He came out of the womb first, number one. Jacob came second. He is number two. But Rebekah overheard what Isaac said to his son Esau. And when Esau had gone into the open country to hunt for game that he might bring back, Rebekah said to Jacob, her favorite son, saying, "Listen carefully. I heard your father saying to Esau, your brother, bring me some game, make me a savory and delicious dish of meat, so that I may eat it and declare my blessing on you in the presence of the Lord before my death. So now, my son, listen carefully to me and do exactly as I command you. Go now to the flock and bring 2 good and suitable young goats, and I will make them into a savory dish of meat for your father, the kind he loves to eat." So she's getting into deception here a little bit. Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, "Listen, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man." Oh, sorry, I missed verse 10. "Then you shall bring it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before his death." So she's wanting Jacob to steal the blessing from Esau. Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, "Listen, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. Suppose my father touches me and feels my skin, then I will be seen by him as a cheat, an impostor, and I will bring a curse on me and not a blessing." But his mother said, "May your curse be upon me, my son. Only listen and obey, and bring the 2 young goats to me." So Jacob, he obeys his mother, went and got the 2 young goats, and brought them to his mother, and his mother prepared a delicious dish of food with a delightful aroma, the kind his father loved to eat. Then Rebekah took her elder son Esau's best clothes, which were in her house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. She put the skins of the young goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. Then she gave her son Jacob the delicious meat and the bread which she had prepared. So he went to his father and said, so we're going to keep track of here how many lies Jacob tells in just a few minutes here, okay? Now remember, in the last couple chapters, we saw Esau gets back from hunting for a long time, and he's so hungry, he says, please, 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 Jacob, give me something to eat. Give me a bowl of beans. Jacob, being deceptive, says, okay, I will give them to you if you give me your birthright. Esau is so hungry that he has to agree. So that means for all intents and purposes, Esau, even though he is physically the firstborn son, as far as anybody's concerned, Esau is the secondborn now, and Jacob is the firstborn. And that's a big deal in ancient Israel because the firstborn son is like the symbol of the family. He is the patriarch. He's going to be the leader, but he also gets double the inheritance of the rest of the children. But now Jacob is the firstborn, and he also is trying to steal the blessing. So he went to his father and said, my father. And Isaac said, here I am. Who are you, my son? So that's lie number one. He's not. Sorry, hold on. That's not lie number one. I got ahead of myself. So he went to his father and said, my father. And Isaac said, here I am. Who are you, my son? And Jacob said to his father, I am Esau. Lie number one. Your firstborn and I have done what you've told me to do. Now please sit up and eat some of my game. Lie number 2. He didn't hunt. I mean, he got those goats, but he didn't hunt them as game, so that you may bless me. And Isaac said to his son, he's getting a little suspicious. He wasn't born yesterday. How is it that you found the game so quickly, my son? And he said, because the Lord your God caused it to come to me. Lie number 3. But Isaac wondered and said to Jacob, please come close to me so that I may touch you, my son, and determine if you are really Esau or not. So Jacob approached Isaac, and his father touched him and said, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. So he's suspicious at this point. He could not recognize him as Jacob because his hands were hairy like his brother's, Esau's hands, so he blessed him. But he said, are you really my son Esau? And Jacob answered, I am. And you know what? Just for good measure, let's say the 5th lie was putting the hair and stuff on his hands and his neck. Then Isaac said, bring me the food to me, and I will eat some of my son's game so that I may bless you. And he brought it to him, and he ate, and brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, please come, my son, and kiss me. So he came and kissed him, and Isaac smelled his clothing and blessed him again. Again, he's being deceptive again. So let's say that's lie number 6. A lot of lies piling up here. This scent of my son Esau is like the aroma of a field which the Lord has blessed. Now, may God give you the dew of heaven, upward mobility, the dew of heaven, the fatness and fertility of the earth, this plain here, and the abundance of grain and new wine. Grain and new wine plant roots, and they come from below. So may God bless you above, here, and below. And an abundance of new wine and grain. May the peoples serve you, and the nations bow down to you. Be Lord and master over your brothers. And may your mother's sons bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and may those who bless you bless you, be blessed. I'm filming this pretty early in the morning. And so he's telling him, you'll be blessed from above, here on earth, and below. Anyone outside our family, so from outside, so all the chaos outside and all of the things inside the family, either way, you're going to be blessed in this case. It's pretty crazy. Now, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had scarcely left the presence of Isaac his father, so he just walked out the door, Esau, his brother, came in from hunting. They probably exchanged a glance. Esau also made a delicious dish of meat and brought it to his father and said to him, let my father get up and eat some of my son's game, his son's game, so that you may bless me. And Isaac, his father, said to him, who are you? And he replied, I'm your son, your firstborn, Esau. Then Isaac trembled violently, and he said, then who was the one who was just here, who hunted game and brought it to me? I ate all of it before you came and blessed him. Yes, he in fact shall be the one who remains blessed. So here's another important thing. So we talked about for the sake of, that's because blessings are irrevocable. Once something has been blessed, it remains blessed. Once a person has inherited a blessing, they remain blessed. This is why, for instance, we see a lot of really famous singers and musicians that just have an incredible ability. I mean, you have musicians that perform on TV and things like that, man, it is undeniable that they have a gift, that they are blessed by God with that ability to sing, to dance, to play music, to write music, all the above. And the purpose of our gifts in life is to glorify God. That's the whole purpose of our life. Whatever gift you've been given, it's been to glorify God. And there are a million different ways you can do that. But a lot of these songs that are being made in secular music are horrible content-wise. And they glorify themselves, they glorify society, they glorify sin, all the above. But God is not taking those talents away from them. Blessings are irrevocable. Now, there may come a day where the consequences of their actions and just living that life kind of steals that blessing away. There are a lot of singers that, they live that party life for so long that it kind of destroys their vocal cords, and eventually it kind of steals away the blessing. But God didn't take that blessing away. Just in the same as it's true for this story here, where Isaac's saying they're the ones that get to remain blessed. The power of life and death is in the tongue. What I have said remains said. So he's showing that there's an importance to remembering that what you say matters. And he's saying that in this case, he's saying, my son, it's over. It's done. When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried out with a great and extremely bitter cry. He said to his father, bless me, even also, O my father. Give me the same blessing as well. Isaac said, your brother came deceitfully and has fraudulently taken away your blessing for himself. Esau replied, is he not rightly named Jacob the supplanter? That's what Jacob means, the one who steals away. For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and now he's taken away my blessing. And he's saying to his father, have you not reserved any blessing for me as the secondborn? And Isaac's thinking, like, I was trying to give you the best blessing of all. You're my favorite. I was trying to give you everything. I kind of sold the farm on this one, okay? But Isaac replies to Esau, listen carefully. I have made Jacob your Lord and master. I've given him and all his brothers and relatives as servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine. What then can I do for you? It's amazing here, and you could probably preach on this for a while, that he says, I have sustained him with grain and new wine. That's interesting that he would say that, because Isaac's about to die. He's not going to be there for the rest of Jacob's life, but he believes so strongly in the power of his words and the power of blessing on behalf of the Lord that these words act as a sustaining force for the rest of Isaac's life. He's literally saying, the words that I have spoken, I have sustained him for the rest of his, I've already set him up for the rest of his life. So when you pray a blessing over someone, especially with this kind of intentionality and this kind of weight, man, you are setting someone up for the rest of their life. I have made Jacob your Lord and master. I've given him all his brothers and relatives as servants. Sustained him with new grain and new wine. What then can I do for you, my son? Esau said to his father, have you only one blessing? Is that it? Bless me, even me also, O my father. Then Esau, no longer able to restrain himself, raised his voice and wept loudly. Then Isaac his father answered him and prophesied and said to him, your dwelling shall be away from the fertility of the earth and away from the dew of heaven above. And you shall live by the sword and serve your brother. However, it shall come to pass when you break loose from your anger and hatred that you will tear his yoke off of your neck and you will be free of him. So, the deception of Isaac has set up not only his life, but has written also Esau's life as well. Did I say Isaac? I meant Jacob. Jacob's deception has set up not only his life, but Esau's life as well, where he's stolen the blessing and there's none left to give. So Esau has what remains, the places outside of Israel, the places away from the dew of heaven, and he's going to have to live in strife with the peoples outside of their family. He's going to live by the sword. But this is also prophetic in this case. He's saying, however, it shall come to pass when you break loose from your anger and hatred, you will tear his yoke off of your neck. And so if you're not a farmer, if you don't read the Bible all the time, talks a lot about the yoke. And that's when you would use, still to this day, you use horses, or you use water buffalo, or you use goats, or you use buffalo, whatever it is. You use cows to pull a plow. They're not like pulling it with their little arms. No, they put like this, kind of like this almost complete ring around their neck that's attached to all the plow and the ropes and stuff, so that when they push forward with their body, they're pulling against that yoke. And so he's saying that when you finally are able to cut away the anger that you feel toward your brother, when you're able to get rid of the hatred that you feel in your heart, this intense enmity between you and him, when you're able to actually forgive him, you're actually going to break all of these curses off of you as well. And so this is my message to you, if you are someone who's dealing with grudges, you're dealing with anger and hatred, you have got to forgive that person. Some people have been through unspeakable things, things that I cannot imagine, but you're not going to be able to break the curses off of your life, this heaviness, and things that we're holding on to in our souls and in the spirit have a physical effect on our lives, not just chemically in our brain, but there are things that happen in our life because we're holding on to spiritual anger towards someone. And when we finally forgive that person, when we let go of the anger and the hatred, we actually break those cords of those cords and curses off of ourselves, and it changes our entire life. So my message to you today, it's difficult, but you're going to have to forgive the people around you and let go of grudges, so that you'll tear his yoke off your neck and you'll be free of him. So Esau hated Jacob because of his blessing, which his father blessed him with. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are very near. So he knows his dad's about to die. Then when he does, then I will kill my brother Jacob. So he's literally like comforting himself with like the knowledge that like Isaac's going to die soon. And when he does, I'm going to kill Jacob. When these words of her elder son Esau were repeated to Rebekah, she sent for Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, listen carefully, your brother Esau is comforting himself right now concerning you by planning to kill you. So now, my son, listen and do what I say. Go, escape to my brother's house in Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while until your brother's anger subsides. When your brother's anger toward you subsides and he forgets what you did to him, then I will send and bring you back from there. Why should I be deprived of both of you in a single day? So this anger that she feels, she literally feels like she's lost Esau. He's going to be wrapped up in his anger and his hatred for a long time. And if Esau is left to kill Jacob, then it's going to feel like she lost both of her sons in the same day. So she sends Jacob off to go live with her brother Laban. And Laban's a great character. We thought that Jacob was deceptive and Abraham was deceptive. They're going to meet. He's going to meet his match in Laban. And so, like I said at the beginning, at the end of the last chapter, you can kind of draw a line underneath those verses and it switches again. Then Rebekah said to Isaac, I am tired because of the daughters of Heth, these Hittites, these insolent wives of Esau. If Jacob takes a wife from the daughters of Heth, like these daughters of the land, what good will my life be to me? That's kind of funny. She's like, listen, the two daughters-in-law that we have already are so horrible that if Jacob marries two more Hittites or marries a Hittite, what is my life? I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. And it's just funny that, thank God I don't have to deal with this. My in-laws and my family, we have a great relationship. But if you're dealing with this, if for no other reason, take solace in the fact that this has been happening for thousands of years, and it can be healed and it can be worked out. But families coming together has been causing problems for thousands of years. It doesn't happen to everybody, but clearly it happens with even important families as well. So that is Genesis 26 and 27. We get to see a lot of the deception of these families. And again, I'm going to say this over and over. This is not God endorsing this behavior because he's still blessing them. This is God blessing them, period. And they're also being deceptive, period. They are, they're not dependent upon one another. Two things are true at the exact same time. They have inherited these blessings from Abraham. They have been faithful to God. They are also deceptive. And it kind of feels like they're being lukewarm a little bit, but I think God is willing to overlook some smaller sins for the sake of their larger faithfulness. And so nobody's going to be perfect. And this isn't, except for Jesus. So this isn't an endorsement of this behavior. This is God saying, I'm going to be faithful to you, even if you're not faithful to me. And I know you've been faithful in the past, so I'm going to remember those times, and I'm still going to be faithful to you. So all this to say, God's faithfulness goes far beyond anything we can understand, and it will follow you down generations. And that's one of the really, really great things about God. So in the next couple chapters, we're going to see Jacob being sent away, and we're going to get to meet Laban. He's a pretty funny guy. It's funny, with 5,000 years, 5,000 years between us. It's not funny for Jacob at the time, but we'll see it here soon. But either way, I want to say thank you for listening today. Thank you for tuning into the Amplified podcast. I apologize that this episode came out a couple days late, but we'll be right on time next Monday, and we will see you soon. Bye.